So I think I finally fixed the storage issue on my phone and iPad. So now I have like all these unfinished, small or shorter videos that I've been trying to make. But one of the things I wanted to start off with, because I was going to just do another video of me running with some music, with some, what do they call that? With some text. I just wanted to share some quick words with you. So I think a lot of us out there are really confused about nutrition and diet as pertains to what is healthy and what is not. Like eating healthy, it's so not just individualized. In other words, I could say that, a plant-based diet with, high fiber and lots of nuts and seeds works really well for me. And actually doing a carnivore diet is not so great, especially long term. And it's not about keto long term. I'm both plant based with like high nuts and high fat, saturated fat in particular, and monounsaturated fat, whatever, avocados, things like that. Those are very good for me. The problem is when you start mixing and matching things on a consistent basis to kind of make excuses for how difficult it is to stick to what I refer to oftentimes as an optimally limiting diet. And it's why I talked a lot about combinations and pairings in my podcast, episode 11 or 12. At this point, I forget which one it was, with Kat Tiseo. Now, the reason that I'm bringing this up is because recently I have had just a really hard time, as many of you know, with my reaction to, the thing, which was, 5, almost 6 weeks ago now. But I've been doing much better, much, much better, physically feeling a lot better. I've run 7 out of the last 10 days. Actually, my last 3 runs were over 28 minutes. Today was, that's why I said 28, but I actually did over 30 on 2 of them. And they've been feeling good. The energy is definitely back. Getting up's not the problem. The joint achiness is the problem, which I can clearly associate to dietary choices. Things for all of us, like things we don't like to talk about or we get uncomfortable talking about. For me, I'm not really uncomfortable talking about it. It's, bathroom habits and how that affects me. And these are things that are associated with prediabetes when we're talking about urination. These are things like irritable bowel when we're talking about constant having to go, trips to the bathroom, which we all know. We could sit there and talk about how it's anxiety, but where does that anxiety really come from? It's a neurochemical imbalance with something like serotonin and something like dopamine and other hormones and neurotransmitters and these chemical reactions like within our body. These are very important when we think about our gut and how it's sort of the initial kind of primitive, first brain, as many people like to think, because of how many hormones and regulatory pathways and secretions and things that come out of our digestive system, which, remember, what we eat fuels our body, including our brain, which is why people talk about ketosis, making ketones for the brain, and why, you need glucose, but you may or may not. I think really the cat's not out of the bag. I don't think there's a definitive answer in terms of who does and doesn't need glucose. But I got a little too far down the rabbit hole. So to just reel it all back in and keep it short and simple, what we eat matters so much more than you or I or anyone ever wants to admit to ourselves. But in order to give ourselves the best chance at having, the most productivity and feel our best in life, for many of us, we cannot outtrain. We can't run and lift and sprint our way out of a bad diet, especially as we go further into age, which is definitely a whole other conversation out there for itself. So again, I'm just sharing my personal experience in the last few weeks, how I, fucked up and ate a whole lot of bad food that I shouldn't have and how it's affected me. But on the same token, a lot of that had to do with how I felt preliminarily while doing everything right, which means you're still potentially going to get sick. You're still susceptible to getting sick, whatever it may be. These things happen, but all we can do is make the best choices all the time to give ourselves the best chance. And that's kind of in a roundabout way what I'm saying. And again, what we eat matters, guys. Please remember that when it comes to how our bodies feel, especially that joint pain. We can control it. And it's not just about body weight. It's about actually not just composition, but how we feel and how we function. That's right. All right, guys. Thanks for everything. Feel free to comment. Feel free to share. All that cool stuff. Come see me and Dr. Axel October 31st.